Hi, I'm Josh. Every time I start intros, I always look over at Ashley because I'm so nervous. It's just the intros. I get talking. That's it. I can be good,
You got this, babe. You can do it.
But I'm gonna do.
Sorry, getting over a cold.
No, you're good. I'm honestly gonna do more reading vlogs. I definitely got a few books I want to talk about. This one, right here, if you can't tell from the title of it, is gonna be about the Odyssey. By the way, welcome. So, with this, honestly, even though I've grown up huge on mythology, I grew up loving Percy Jackson. That probably was my main thing growing up that got me into mythology to begin with, was reading that. I probably never would have seen myself reading the Odyssey, but being so much more into books now than I ever was, and how much love the Odyssey has gotten within the last couple years, I had to read it finally. It was one of those things where it's like, you're all grinning over there.
I know, I love it when you get this excited about books.
Well, especially this one, huh?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I saw you this passionate about a book.
I'm kind of surprising myself with how much I'm into it. I think with seeing so many people's takes on it, so many various takes on either stuff from the Odyssey or just the Odyssey, it is honestly fun to finally read the original book for the first time, because it really does, even though I am experiencing stuff that's never made it into anything else before, any forms of media or stories, I'm so familiar with the story of the Odyssey that it does feel like I've read it before, even though I know I haven't. But I have so much I want to talk about. I'm trying to find a good, trying to find segues into each thing here. The story has been getting so much love between the one guy named Jorge, who's done the music, the songs for his epic sagas. That's what pulled me back into interest of the Odyssey, listening to those. And then season 2 of Percy Jackson for Disney Plus is just going to add to that fire, because it's adapting the Sea of Monsters book, and he goes up against, I believe it's pronounced Polyphemus, the giant, or the Cyclops that Odysseus blinded, and other monsters from the Odyssey. So and then not only that, but Christopher Nolan is making an adaptation of the Odyssey, which, that's gonna be good. Movie buff, right? I mean,
even though you can guess what movie.
what?
Nothing. I'm just mumbling.
Just bumbling. What's crazy is too, that movie is probably gonna add up to be the most full adaptation of the book, because before that there was only ever, I think it was Brad Pitt that started it, but Troy, which only really adapted the Trojan War. And then last year there was the Ralph Fiennes movie that came out called The Return, which only adapted the very end of the book when he returns to Ithaca. So we're getting a full version, or at least as full as we can get. I mean, Christopher Nolan isn't known for making short movies, so I mean, there'll probably be a lot of the story in there. But a lot of people were because it's supposedly been said, at least from some sources, that Tom Holland's Telemachus, I am way strange, and it was gonna be a rat, man. But I was segueing back into it. A lot of people were saying that Telemachus was gonna be the lead of the movie, and a lot of people were like, how is that gonna work? I've been reading the book. The first 4 or 5 chapters is Telemachus, Odysseus' son, going on this journey to try to figure out what happened to his father, because for those of you watching that might not know the timeline of it, this has been gone 20 years before he makes it back. Fought 10 years in the Trojan War, and then struggles to get home, fighting off gods and monsters. Oh yeah, that was quite a rant. I do apologize for that. Because she's right. I strayed away from the book. We're also reading the book, and this part's fresh in my mind because I'm in the chapters of the book that this is happening in, but like so many adaptations of it show Odysseus going from Calypso's island, battling one other monster, having to face a Poseidon, and then he makes it home. But reading the book, there's another island he ends up on between all that. So like, I never even knew that part. And I'm currently reading that part of the book. I can't remember the island's name off the top of my head. Again, not very familiar with that. Didn't even know there's yet another place he ends up stranded on. So he's so far getting help from the people there. But also with literally any book, like, you know, stuff's gonna hit the fan when we're not even that far into it. If you're familiar with the story, yeah. What I've just said between Telemachus' journey to try to find his father, and then just a couple other things I mentioned, Calypso's island, and landing on this other island, it hasn't even touched on everything that I know about the Odyssey. It's shown stuff that I'm not as familiar with from it, so it has been so fun to read, and this video is going to be longer past this because I still got to finish the book. Right? Nice. It looks like it's not the middle of the night. It's been, I think, a few days or more since I've done a clip for this. I've read some chapters though. So, and I'm not going to do a play-by-play of what else I've read, but I'm definitely going to talk about a few things that stood out to me in it. One of my favorite parts, long before ever reading the Odyssey, was, and it's probably one of the most famous parts of it, that even if you're not familiar with the Odyssey, you've probably heard something about it, where Odysseus tricks the Cyclops. And I was kind of wondering how it went down in the original book. I've seen different plays of it where Cyclops asks his name, like, "What is your name, stranger?" "Nobody." Yeah. It actually went down "no man" in the book. I've heard it so many different ways, like nobody, but I like the no man. That sounded a little more convincing than nobody. I did catch one thing though. And it's crazy, it's been so long since I've read Percy Jackson, but Percy, basically the group Percy was with in the Sea of Monsters book, to get away from the same Cyclops, they hide underneath his flock, like they hang on to his flock as the flock of sheep move past the Cyclops. That's how they escape him. And that's actually how Odysseus and his remaining men escaped him in the Odyssey. I did not know that. I did not know that part. Because again, I've seen different plays on it. I never knew that part. I was like, oh hey, that's how Percy got away. Okay. Starting to notice this stuff. I don't know, what else did I like? I've seen different versions of when he went and talked to the prophet in the underworld, which so many different times it's like, oh, they just went to the underworld to talk to the prophet. No, in the book, they do and don't go to the underworld. It's weird. They kind of go, the best I can explain it is it's kind of limbo. They don't go all the way into the underworld though. They go to like what was called Persephone's Isle or Persephone's Island. And it's like, it's a stepping off point. If they went further, they ventured further on that ocean past her isle, then they would have gone into the underworld, but they were like at the premise. They did this ritual and the prophet and other dead souls came and talked to him. I was like, oh, they didn't venture all the way in there. They just like, I don't know that either. It's cool for me to be reading it and what I've always known and been exposed to of the Odyssey. It's like, oh, I mean, obviously it's gonna be different. There's different interpretations, and it was the interpretations I grew up with. I will say this, I'm getting inspired for my own story too. That's an entire different thing though, but yeah, so far I've just read the chapters that was on the Cyclops Isle when there's that entire other part I didn't even know about. Like, I've seen different ways of how most of his fleet died, different from how in the book. I can't remember what the name of the isle was, but like most of his ships went into this landlocked cove where there was only one way to sail out. Odysseus docked the ship he was on, climbed up like this rock face or something to investigate the area. Long story short, ends up pissing off the locals. They just destroy all the ships in the landlocked area. His ship was docked outside, so he got back to his, and they were the only ones who survived that encounter. I was like, I never knew that. I've seen that play differently in different stories, so. My wife's over here looking at me while I'm talking about it. And now I'm at the point of the book. He just got back to his island, Ithaca, and he's gonna, yeah. If you're familiar with the Odyssey, you know where the story's going from there. I'll do another clip or two talking. Oh, the cookies are done. I think that's what I'll talk about just for the moment till I finish the book, because for the most part, pretty much all I read. I mean, oh, I did think of one thing. Right in between the prophet and Cyclops was, of course, Circe's island, where she turned his men to pigs. I learned some details there too. I don't know if I want to go into detail about that though, because whereas the other things, it's like, oh, those are little notable differences, or I nerded out like, oh, I understood that reference in Percy Jackson now because I noticed it here, but yeah. I think I'll just end up finishing the book, doing a final talk of it here, and that'll be it. But yeah, so far I'm still working on it. I have made gradual progress. I think I think Ashley challenged me to have it done by like this point or sooner, but I haven't. It's a goal, but yeah. I've been working on it pretty good though, haven't I? Yeah. Just gotta get it done and we'll finish talking about it then. Hi. I'm adding on to the Odyssey one right now because I think I realized I kind of remembered why I brought up the Cersei chapter, but I didn't really talk about it. I was forgetting the thing I wanted to talk about until I just randomly remembered it. I know I mentioned it on here, and I'll mention it again because I absolutely love it. The guy, Jorge, who created Epic, all these songs of Odysseus' journey. This is just concept musical album. The first song of the set of songs, the saga, where they're on Cersei's island, the song Puppeteer, had it where Eurylochus goes back to Odysseus and tells him all the men went into Cersei's palace except for I did not go in. They all went in, they got turned into pigs. We should just leave. After so long of listening to this, like the countless times I've listened to this song because I love it. It goes so hard. I wondered, it's like, if he didn't go in the building, if he didn't go in Cersei's palace or castle, whatever it was called, how do you know they were turned into pigs? It was kind of my headcanon for the song that he went around to a window and just peered in and was like, oh no, and he saw it and ran away. It's kind of my headcanon. In the book, in the chapter, he is the only one that doesn't go in. However, yeah, he doesn't know what happened to him. After so long of waiting, he just eventually goes back to Odysseus and tells them, I think there's treachery afoot. They never came out. They're probably dead. Well, let's just leave. And Odysseus is like, well, no. I'm gonna go investigate, see if I can save him, see what the heck happened. And he goes, Eurylochus and none of the other men left there want to go back. So he goes on. Odysseus goes on his own, where then Hermes comes to him, gives him the rune and says it's the only thing that can protect you against Cersei's magic. Because, guess what? She's a sorceress. She turned all your men to pigs. It's Hermes that told him Cersei did that to his men. That was just a fun thing to learn. Has come. I think I totally meant to do a clip after the last little reading one, but I never did. So, I've finally finished the Odyssey. The last bit of it was Odysseus returning home, Athena disguising him as the beggar, him revealing himself to his son, It's only like the couple of them knew. Then, you know, if you're familiar with the Odyssey, you know what happens with the suitors and everything. I'm not gonna go into the details with that part, but overall.
What? Every day.
In a minute, Bubba.
Was this your first classic book?
I don't think so. I think classic in terms of mythology, probably. But I felt like I've read other classics. I feel like I have. I can't think of what ones at the moment. And I have other classic ones on my shelf or on my cart to read. But yeah, if I have before, I can't even remember. Odyssey is certainly the first one in a while. I did, and this is a slight segue, but it still has to do with the Odyssey. I realized something with you and me talking the other night. You asked me how it was going or something, and I said, it's taking a minute. In a minute, Bubba.
Baby.
And with that, I had said that it was like a long, the characters were very long-winded, multiple paragraphs, just talking, telling stories, which was totally fine. But you reminded me of a term, that the story's considered an epic, right? That's what you said? And that totally made something else make sense to me, because something I've talked about in this, and one of the many things that got me into finally sitting and reading the Odyssey, was the one guy on YouTube Music, Jorge, who did the songs and concept musical songs for the Odyssey, inspired by Odysseus' journey home. 40 songs, 9 different sagas. Although the title of it threw me off, like, why was it called this? And us you saying that totally made sense, because he called it epic. I'm like, now that just makes sense. I just completely forgot about that term until you had said it. But yes, overall I thoroughly enjoyed it and very much liked finally sitting and reading the whole thing. It was one of those things where it's like I was so familiar with the story, it felt like I read it, even though I never sat and read the whole thing. And I have a really cool copy. Barnes & Noble exclusive one. I'm hanging on to this. Maybe someday I'll read it again, but I'm certainly gonna hang on to it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Thank you for watching. It was very fun to read it, and I'm glad you went on this little journey with me. I honestly plan to do more reading vlogs. We'll probably do one to Sunrise on the Reaping, because it's such a big one. I'll give my 2 cents on it, and that's the story I'm very much excited to read. So that, among others, I will probably do in the future. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.